Okay, hello everybody. We're going live tonight with Thirsty Thursdays. We've got everybody up and rearing to go, which is exciting. I'm Adriana. I'm going to be hosting tonight. So I look forward to helping everybody out and work through. Our topic tonight is how can we get everybody to love learning and foster that love of learning. So we all wanted to start off by saying hello to everybody. We'll take it turn by turn, and maybe something great that's happened this week, something amazing that we want to pick up and share. So I'm going to go to my screen on my right and say hello to Gary.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Gary Garcia from the Philippines. I am a Google Innovator and trainer, and at the same time a GG chapter. I can't find that thing that I'd like to share. Maybe later.
Okay, we'll come back to you. I'm going to go to my left then and say hello to Eric. Hello to you.
Hello, I'm Eric, and I'm in Korea. And so something I could share is my department. I'm an English teacher right now. I'm going to be ed tech coordinator next year, and my department is studying together understanding by design, and I feel like we've just been making really good progress working through a book about it. And sometimes we decide to do things and maybe we don't make a lot of progress, but I feel like we've been really working well as a department, and I like that.
Great, very good. Did you say you were using a book, Eric? Are you going to share that with us?
It's a book about understanding by design. I don't remember the exact title, but it's one of the ones written by the experts. The main understanding by design guys.
Is it the one with Wiggins?
Wiggins and McTighe. Yeah, it's
I think that is
about unit design. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay,
Understanding by Design, published by ASCD, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They also did the essential questions one.
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just to let you know, our school also did a similar thing. So the English department in our school did that a couple of years ago, and have really embraced it. So there might be some good contacts to reach out to there.
Nice, thanks.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go on to James. Hi, James.
Hiya. And so I have a special thing on the screen, and you'll be very excited by this, I hope, if they're going to show it. Are you going to show it? Oh, there you go. So one of the things that one of my students brought up to me is that not every teacher knows how to use Google Classroom. So I've made this graphic just to show what a really good assignment looks like, and just to help teachers think about the ways you can use Google Classroom and the things that make it easier for students. And, I normally do very high-tech stuff, but I thought this was something just a nice little reminder, and then there's a checklist to go with it. I'm putting it through its paces, and then hopefully I'll share with teachers just as a gentle way that these are things that really make a real positive difference to students. And it's worth spending the extra 5 or 10 seconds doing that.
Excellent, that's good. I would say at my school, some teachers are new to Google Classroom, and I forget, because I've been immersed in it 3 or 4 years. When someone says, "Oh, could you take me through it?" I'm like, "What?"
I'd like to say a couple of things about that. First off, Sethi on the flippedtutorials.com. He has a nice
Flipped Classroom tutorials.
Okay, Flipped Classroom tutorials. Thanks, Ralph. Has got a nice video walking new teachers through that. And second, you mentioned that a topic it's good to have for every assignment. In my experience, well, if you don't have a topic, then it's at the very top. And so for the most current things, I like to not have a topic, and then topic, so they're easy.
So normally they go through the stream for that, don't they? They go through the stream. So, the topic thing seems to be something. The trouble is, if you don't put a topic in immediately, unless you're pretty good, you don't do it. If you'd like it's only a Google slide, so I'm happy to share that.
Excellent, please do. Okay, I'm going to move along because I want to say hello to Georgina. Georgina is a colleague of mine from way back, so I'm very excited to see her here.
Georgina, where are you from?
Hello to Georgina.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm calling from Amman, Jordan today in the Middle East.
So tell us all about you.
Yeah, well, Adrienne and I worked together over a decade ago in Cairo, Egypt. So we've had quite an interesting tour. And I'm working as Director of Learning Technology at a K-12 school, international school in Amman. And I am the GEG leader for Amman also. So that's pretty exciting. We just onboarded a bunch of new trainers, and there's a lot of teachers in other local schools that are getting their certifications as well. So yeah, it's kind of an exciting time to be in the region.
Is Amman Asia Pacific?
In Middle East, Jordan.
Yeah, I believe so. It borders. Where are we bordering? We're bordering.
Middle East.
Where do we border?
We're going international
not
with
a
this
forte.
one. We're going international.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure we're bordering like Israel, and and Egypt is on the other side of us on the Red Sea, so we're pretty close to Egypt as well. But we're not on the African continent; we're on the other one. So yeah.
Yeah. So officially, it's still part of APAC. Gary is laughing.
Yes.
He knows what I'm thinking.
Either way, it's super cool to join you guys. I was listening to your live broadcast last week. So yeah, some great stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's really useful.
Very good. Thank you, Georgina. I like that we just flipped into a little geography lesson there.
I know, I'm always learning, right?
Hello, Ralph.
Hi there, Adriana.
Anything exciting you want to share with us? Apart from that, it's flipped classroom.
Sorry, I seem
that's
to
great.
be the most motivated to shout out other people's stuff.
Nice.
But I wanted to make a bad joke with Eric and say, what was it called? Zoom work class or
something.
I actually used that guide to share with the
Zoom.
teacher. They were really, really impressed. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Sorry, must it be on topic what I share?
No.
Okay, so
when is it ever? Go for it, Ralph.
Okay. I found a couple of weeks ago music site, and before I talk anything more, I will share my screen, and I have about 2 minutes or something. And can you please confirm that you can see my screen?
Almost.
Yes, coming now. Yeah, got it.
Okay, so this is a website which not only lets you compose notes by clicking on the notes. I'm not sure if you can hear that now.
No.
I can hear the clicking.
Okay, you can see
the
notes populating properly. And then I can also use chords. Sadly, I cannot show you how it sounds.
Can you click on play at the top?
Yes, but I'm not sure if you will hear.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, it's probably going straight to your earphones, right, Ralph?
Yeah, that is correct. So it only goes to the earphones. The amazing thing is that that you can export this to have different MIDI notes and import it directly into your digital audio software and to connect it to the topic. I think for kids to experience music this way is very interesting, and many kids are scared to learn music, but with this tool you can see that there's a lot of technicalities taken away from it. And now I don't know if I can quickly go there, but there's a whole library of MIDI sounds. So if you have a favorite song and you want to know, for example, from the Beatles, how did they structure the song? How did they arrange the song? You can see this arrangement of very famous song here visually. I'm not sure if it will load in time, but I think it's a very amazing tool to make music education.
I mean, if it works with MIDI files, then Musical has tons and tons, doesn't it?
So the website here itself has many songs, And
Mhm.
if you register, you can. It has a trial account for 30 days, I believe.
Mhm.
Then you can also export and import new MIDI sounds to the
Wow.
program or away from it.
Cool.
That
Well,
Excellent.
if you
Great.
compose
website is
something
called.
special, I'll be able to hear it on my piano.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
it sounds really good, and I like this website very much. In order to connect it to the topic, I would say that if you have good warmers, and I fail to make use of good warmers often, if you have good warmers, students forget that there is stress in the classroom, and they are in a good mood to share, collaborate, and many problems will go
Mm.
away.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's
Thank you,
me.
Ralph. That's great.
Hey,
Um,
Adriana.
so, so I'm going to go back to just let everybody know what we're talking about tonight. So again, it's how to foster a love of learning. We're educators, but how do we keep that momentum and drive going? We talked a little bit before the show, and we wanted to start with the focus on us. So it might be a natural thing to talk about the love of learning for our students, but we thought it would be a really good idea to think about how do we foster a love of learning for ourselves and our colleagues. A lot of us in ed tech roles, coaching, mentoring, supporting, sometimes how do we keep that momentum going, or how do we get the drive and the momentum started? So what do we think?
Well, I feel like, whenever I wanted to learn something, like I got into computers a million years ago, and I remember when I found them intimidating. And then my brother came to visit, and he wanted to play a game, and he got into DOS, and he was typing a line, command line function, and I thought that was pretty interesting because after he did that, then he got to play a game that I really wanted to play, and I feel like it's the learning stands between me and relief of some sort. So when I found out if I'm having trouble in this or that area of teaching, when I found out, oh my gosh, there's somebody who can really help me with this. There's somebody who has been there, who knows, like, who sees things the way that I do, like, and can help me see around things the way that I'm doing them. And so when I figured out that the exact problems that I had, somebody else had had them, and somebody else had made progress, then that really got me in the habit of looking for sources, looking for help, looking for experts, and I was inspired by the carrot of the success I could have, but also the stick of the failure that I was experiencing up to that point.
Okay, yeah, good. And did you, in like now you're moving into an ed tech coaching role, is that right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So did you ever imagine yourself taking that sort of path in your career?
Well, yeah, I was a programmer for a long time back home, and so then I went into teaching because I felt like programming was great. It was entertaining, but then I don't know. It didn't feel like something important was happening. I was helping people figure out how many left-handed students were in the geography department, and they could make some budget decisions. And so then I started working at a school as a teacher, and I felt like something important was happening. And then I realized, hey, wait a second, I can have my love of technology and of that kind of thinking and still be doing something important by doing that in a school. And so that's how I went in that direction.
Good, yeah. Gary, in your role, could you tell us a little bit, how do you help support your colleagues and people in your area?
Okay, basically, our job as a teacher is a bit tiring, and it doesn't stop inside the school. So usually, when I have time, I spend time with them. We eat outside of the school before we go home, because sometimes when you talk about problems or airing out inside the school campus is different when you're outside, because we have a different environment. So spending time is basically what I do outside of the school, because in that case you're more relaxed when you're out of the school, because sometimes the cost of of stress, or the things that we talk about is about school. So maybe we need to change venue for a while. So
That's
that's
good.
how I do that.
That's a good practical point. Just, leaving the very place where they're tired and exhausted and might not want to think about that is a good, place to start, definitely. James, you are one of my mentors. You are partly the reason why I ended up where I am as a technology coach. So definitely you have inspired me and mentored me. So what's your tricks?
I was the one asking the questions, I thought. But, look, I think as a teacher, you're always doing it for the students, and you're trying to help them. And I think also, hopefully, most people get into teaching for the love of subject. But I hope you like the students and you love the subject, or you're looking to develop in primary. I notice primary teachers are very good at developing the whole person, and they're interested in that development and for the kids and making sure they do those things. And so that's for me. And the real thing for me is, how do we encourage teachers to love learning? How do we encourage teachers to, you do hear the day-to-day teachers who just, especially in the international circuit sometimes, who are just in it to get the pay packet. Sometimes it feels like, I don't know if sometimes we just don't always get the best out of people, or they forget. What can we do to inspire those? That's really what I'm thinking. And often for me, what helps my love of learning is you guys and those people who are prepared to do that enthusiastic. And I much prefer to spend time with those people who are super enthusiastic, who do want to innovate. And that really inspires me. But what can we do to help those other people?
Yeah, there is that really good video that Apple shows with the 3 carriages on the train, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just like, at the front is the ones who are super motivated and coming to you with ideas and stuff. The middle people are I might give it a go. Tell me again what it is. And then in the last train is those ones who just are resistant to change, will undermine if possible, that kind of thing. And always as a tech coach, maybe naturally we think, let's change their minds. Let's work on the last carriage. And actually they say, forget about them. It's just, don't worry about them, because, spend time, get recharged with the front carriage, get super enthused, work on the middle carriage, and hopefully people in the last will come across, or they won't. That's just the way it is. And it really turned it around for me to think, am I wasting, or could I be using my time better to support the ones that want to, rather than forcing the ones who just are not interested in
and I think
trying to come
also
on board.
eventually that the students will be a push. If you can get, if teachers can see that other students are having great experiences and they're seeing those benefits, then the laggards, which I think was the term used, can be encouraged to do the basics and help people. And I think once you can get willingness, then that's fair enough. But you will definitely get those teachers who say, look, I don't want to change.
Yeah. And then that becomes a management problem.
Well, it's fine if what they're doing is successful and students are having great lessons and everything. But sometimes I then get clobbered by the teacher who says, hey, you didn't tell me that I could just click a couple of buttons and have something like Edpuzzle. There was a teacher who'd been teaching chemistry for 20 years, and then I showed him this Edpuzzle, and he was like, why didn't I know this? Well, obviously he hadn't gone through any of the things, and he's first time experiencing it. But if there are quick wins, and I think that's often the way to get those last carriage people to think about it. But there has to be a proven benefit for those guys.
Yeah, definitely. Georgina, what's your take on it? Because that is, are you 100% in that role, just supporting your colleagues?
No, I do have 12 hours of teaching time as well, which I think is super important, because it means then that I can be working with students, test out the new stuff that's coming out, and be available for others to come and observe using the tech in the class. So yeah, I think it's important to be in the classroom as well. But I do teacher training every week. And one of the things that has been really successful in the last term at our school was empowering, like you were talking about the 3 trains, Adriana. So the teachers that are being really innovative and risk takers in the classroom, I try to empower them. So I asked them, would they like to lead sessions? And we've been doing those carousels where different teachers will lead PD in different rooms, 15 or 20-minute sessions twice in an hour. And then teachers can pick and choose which sessions they want to go to. And you'd be surprised how inspired the lower train carriage of teachers are learning from the top end teachers. So it is a very, very good point that you made there. It seems to be taking off.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just, you might be saying the same thing, but because it's in a different voice, it takes off, right? So part of that is being able to let that go, so that you're not behind going, I said that. I showed that, you just sort of think, okay, so you want to listen to your friend who's taken that on board. Excellent. It's working. That's great. Yeah. Yes,
but actually, I think that's very true for teachers as well as the students. If your friend is encouraging you to use it, it's much better than that coach who keeps on going on about this, that, and the other. It's and because my job is to teach computing. Yeah, whatever James is doing is probably miles ahead. It's not accessible to us, but when you do connect with the teacher and you give them something that has an immediate difference, then that's it,
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like people can be resistant to change, and so it's easier to use the it's just that person excuse. If one person's talking about it, but when a few people start, then they think, this is the way the wind is blowing. I'm gonna miss out. Yeah.
I do have a sneaky technique. I don't use it as much now, but previously I'd run a lot of parent workshops and roll out stuff there and just sort of say, what do you think of this idea? And then, there's nothing, they'd be like, that looks great. And then they become the voice that talks to the teachers rather than me trying to roll it out. Yeah. And then you'll find that the teachers are sometimes coming and saying, one of the parents is talking about this app that we could use. And I'll be like, that sounds exciting.
Really? Never heard of that.
Yeah, because if you have ideas but it's not working, you have to try and find another way. Or lunchtime sessions where the students drop in and you just might roll out something fun that they could use. And then before, and I got that tip from somebody else. There was a teacher in my school that kept on, I'd say something exciting. It might even be like, let's use Yahtzee for maths. And they'd be like, Mr. Stephen, he's already taught us that. So I had someone else who had all these great ideas like 2 weeks before me. But it just meant that, other teachers were inspired because the kids were saying, we played this game Yahtzee with Mr. Stephen. Okay, we'll play the game then. So it's going around the houses sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, also people don't want to risk something and for the lesson to go horribly wrong. And I completely understand that, as a computer programmer, and I think Eric can vouch for me this, we're probably more risk taking simply because we expect our programs to go wrong before they go right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when you imagine how it's going to go the very first time, you're not imagining a perfect execution. You're imagining what it's going to be like when it doesn't go well and know that it's going to be all right anyway.
And we're also quite keen on iterations and things like that.
Exactly.
Which not every teacher is so keen on. I mean, we all hear about the teacher who plans their lessons once and then repeats it for 20 years.
Yeah. I was going to say you were used to failure, but you've worded it much better than what I could do.
Is good. That's good. Yeah. Just don't stop there. That's all.
This brings us nicely, though, to the role of management or administration, because as much as we are all enthusiastic and have these tips and hints and things like that, what do we actually need from management in order to help support our colleagues to get this love of learning across the school?
I think time, and I think that's time for the people helping and time for the people teaching. I mean, I think it's incredibly valuable to go and see other teachers, and those enthusiasts, let those other teachers go and see it in action, because that's the best model. It's not being told in a professional development, oh yeah. It's actually seeing it in a classroom and seeing those students react. And you're only going to get that if you let the teachers into other classes and you give them the time to do that.
That's a really great idea.
But also,
I was going to say,
go ahead.
I think we have a time lag. Sorry, James, but you're right. I read a book recently. Have you heard of the pineapple board? Where people, teachers, admin can put that board in the staff room or in a hallway, and teachers can just slot up, hey, I'm going to try this app in this lesson, and people can just randomly go and participate in the lesson and then leave a sticky note attached. I really like this. This went really well. So it's exactly what you're talking about.
And what's it called? Sorry, the pineapple board.
Yeah, it's definitely not my idea. It comes from the Cult of Pedagogy. I don't know if you follow her, Jennifer, on Twitter or that's
Jennifer
her
Gonzalez.
idea. She wrote a blog on it, so it's called the Pineapple Board. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, I've been in schools where you have to push that though, where like learning walks. I don't know if you guys have learning walks and things like that, and being actually having workshops on how to give critical feedback, supportive feedback, or just say nice things without sort of like, you do to improve that, because the nature of teachers, we're looking at, oh, I could help you by, and just being able to say, I really like this because, and then leave it at that. We had to actually teach people to do that, to build that, you know, come on into my classroom because you're going to say nice things that are constructive.
I think that's another thing with those kind of things is to get away from the observation model, in the sense of you're going to go in and criticize everything. One of the things I really appreciate at school is they've got, here's what I really enjoyed about your lesson. Here are some questions I have about your lesson. And that's how far it goes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that, you know, if things are going wrong, they're going wrong. And what is the teacher doing about it? What has that pupil had, and what issues have got? It's better to ask questions, because then A, the teacher is going to learn from that, and B, there might be very good reasons why the teacher did the thing the way they did it, which, you know, a drop in observation is never going to spot.
Yeah.
You know, I just popped. Oh, you found it. Is it Cult of Pedagogy Pineapple Charts? Was that the one, Georgina?
Yeah. Did you find it? Oh, good. I was looking for it.
I hope that's the link. Yeah, when I put pineapple boards, I got a lot of links to growing pineapples in Malaysia. And you know, the pineapples in Malaysia are awesome, but I'm not. And eating a pineapple, like, probably excellent for the teachers for refreshing them, but not what you were after, I think.
No,
that's Gary's idea. Yeah. Gary's idea, take them out of the school and feed them a pineapple.
The other one I really enjoyed, it happened about 5-10 years ago, and has lost favour just because IT got thrown out with the IT bathwater, unfortunately, was they used to have a Risk It week where you could try all sorts of crazy experiments with IT for that week, and there was a no criticism policy. Try it out. If it fails, it fails. They made a big fuss with the kids, but also the secondary SLT and so on. Used to say, look, during that week, there will be no observations. If things go wrong, they go wrong. You know what I mean? But
that's really cool.
Let people come into your class. And I think that Pineapple Board might be a development from that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
I was really excited when I found the article. It was really nice.
Yeah.
So what do your management teams do at school that you feel help to foster a love of learning, help to encourage, you know, beyond the obvious, you have a budget for PD?
So our school is pretty big on well-being, and that's including teachers as well. So they have like, not obviously monthly or anything like that, but once in a while we can leave like an hour early from school on the last day of the week. And we often get like teacher appreciation days where they'll give us vouchers, like little percentage off to go to a restaurant or a club or something like this. And I feel like it's their way of saying thank you for the work that the teachers are doing at the school. And it wants them to do more for their own classes, for their colleagues, as well as the school. So that's one thing the school is doing to support that. And then as far as learning, we're just coming up with like brand new ideas. So I'm going to be doing a teacher training on Thursday, and I was inspired by all these book studies that I was following on Twitter since Christmas. I'm just like brand new to like all this awesome Twitter PD. So I think we're going to try and start a book PD, but I'm going to get the teachers to come up with suggestions, and we'll take a vote. So to get them involved in what book they would like to study to support the ed tech. And I also watched sketchnoting. I'm trying to sketchnote now with my iPad because I'm really not good at drawing, using Adobe Fresco. And I watched on Carrie's YouTube live session, she had a fishbowl, and they picked the theme of their sketchnoting out of a fishbowl. So I was thinking maybe I could do that with like apps. We could pick like an app for the month out of a fishbowl or something, and teachers could say who can come up with the most creative way to use that in a class, or just any kind of different twist on it, you could say. So we'll see how that goes.
One thing I want to say is, if you're truly atrocious at drawing, and I'm not saying anybody is,
I am.
as opposed to sketchnoting, I've always used a mind mapping tool called XMind, and that is a very, very quick tool to generate. And then you can add images onto it quite quickly. But I find it a great way to take notes, and it's real time. Whereas I love the sketchnoting for those who can do it, but that's one area I don't feel confident enough to draw stuff like that. But yeah, I think sketchnoting, if you can do it, it's amazing, because that makes minutes so much better. But this is a kind of, if you can't do that, this is probably, a good.
I'm going to take a look at that app.
Document. Yeah.
So
and you can include links in it as well, which is handy.
That's an app or a site? What is it?
It's a bit of both, online? But it's a downloadable.
Downloadable. Okay.
Yeah, it works. I mean, there are many of them, but I just find XMind particularly quick, and it looks decent. Cool. The other one that's open source is FreeMind. That doesn't look as good, but it's very cross-platform, and there's no commercial motive with that one. XMind, there is a free edition, but they
I
do
like
one.
What James was. I like what James was saying about like time, and I wanted to add in there about freedom. And I think sometimes we don't necessarily, as educators, have the freedom in order to experiment and be risk takers. So we ask our teachers to do that with students and take risks and try this out and experiment, but we don't always have that freedom. And I think that's something that is really important if you have management supporting that they can do.
And I think if management do give that explicit freedom, I think that makes a huge difference. And also, if the trust isn't high with management actually do a demo week beforehand and invite everybody in to see them. Now, ironically, of course, the management that are happy for that to happen are often have the trust. So you know what I mean. But if you're new to the job or something, then often it is a way to build trust. But if that trust has been lost, then you as management, you demoing for a week, and then a couple of weeks later, letting everybody else have a go, that definitely excites people.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's simple little things as well. I mean, my previous school, we wanted to do a big drive on everybody doing Google Educator. So the first, I think, 4 or 5 people that went through, the school paid for the educator exams, but then they got a Starbucks voucher when they passed and a morning off.
Oh, that's very cool.
Wow.
And it was just, wow. And then the next few that we put through, we said that you can have the morning off to sit the exam. So they could either take it off in school or they could save it for later and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
It really turned it round, and it was sort of the school saying, we really want to support you on this. And it was really nice, and they really liked their Starbucks vouchers. We got so many tweets about them spending their morning in Starbucks when they should have been at school. They loved it.
That's awesome. And I think these kind of things we're very lucky in our school that every Friday afternoon we get professional development time.
That is great.
And it is, I mean, that's the gold standard really, is that management do set aside time and properly protect it. That's the hard thing.
Because I really liked how with your school, they foster that sense of you can have that time to,
Yes.
watch videos, read books. How many of us have an afternoon that we're able to do that, try out apps, that kind of thing. So it is a unique opportunity. I think that's great.
It reminds me of Google's 20%.
Yeah.
It is basically that. I mean, as I say, and we're quite lucky because we're in a Muslim country. The Friday afternoon enables Muslim staff to go to prayers, but most of us aren't. So we have this professional development time, and yeah, it is incredible, and I'm sure it's made a huge difference to my learning.
Yeah. And what you were saying, Georgina, with the well-being, we used to have the Friday afternoon off, and we'd schedule in once every 6 weeks or something, where people would put things on. So we'd go bowling as a group, or we did like origami one afternoon. So people would have all these little things going. We went to the movies together, or we did actually have a Starbucks order in for one of the sessions. But it was really nice that people chose what they wanted to do. So you had a real mix of people. You talk to people that have been in the school that you'd never even talked to before. You're like, oh, are you new? No, I've been here 4 years. Oh, okay, right. It's good, really good.
I think it is important to get to know people, and I think the more you get to know them, you can hone in on those skills. So like when I see if anybody wants to offer to give PD sessions or those little 20 minutes, it's because you know what they're good at doing, or you know what they're using in their class, or what they're excited about. And if you can hone in on that and get to know people, I think it's important. I like what you said too, Adrienne, about the word choice. And I think that the more choice we give to teachers as well makes them feel empowered and excited to want to do things. So it's a bit of freedom, bit of choice, but I like that word. Yeah.
And actually, it was quite an old coach who did this, but Anna Power had a really simple idea, and this is one for you, Eric, because it came back to memory. You, as the coach, have to be the most sociable person in school. Every event, every opportunity to get to know people, everything, every social opportunity, you need to be on a night, and you need to be the life of the party, and the reading club person and everything else, because basically you need to know as many people as possible, build as much trust as possible with as many people as possible, and then people will come to you. You need it's approachability over and also, Adriana knows this. Vip was very good at this. She was so approachable, and that's why everybody. I mean, she's now at Monaco, obviously drinking plenty of wine, because that's part of a tech coach's role.
Hear that. Nice.
Excellent.
You have to be at the wine tasting. And organize stuff that people actually want to do, and don't talk about the tech and say, that's where it goes.
Today, somebody reminded me that a lot of business deals are closed over golf.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't played golf yet.
Okay, so no business deals yet. Okay, everyone, let's move it along. There's some really good ideas that we've got there. We should try and put them into the chat, so just to remind people. But also as well, let's look at the whole focus, the main reason that we do what we do and turn up every day. How do we continue to foster or encourage a love of learning for our students? Yeah.
Well, that one actually I find easier. I find much easier, because I think for me, and for my subject in particular, it's all about flow. It's about making sure that the tasks you design, particularly in computing, are neither boring or too frustrating. And it's always about getting that balance exactly right, or as close to right as possible. And again, it's saying, look, failure is fine. We fully expect things to go wrong, for you to try things, to have another go and another go, and that's fine in my lessons. And a lot of teachers say that I might be more gentle than some of the other teachers, because I know if I'm not approachable, when they're getting stressed, when they're having problems, they're not going to feel that they want to come to their teacher for support. And particularly because I teach in an Asian environment, a lot of kids want that high level of success, which, I'm sorry, you're not going to get in computing. You have to develop resilience. But when you do get success, it feels well earned.
Well, I wanted to add, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Georgina, Georgina,
Okay.
say.
No, it's okay. I think I'm on a big time lag, so sorry about that,
That's
guys.
okay.
I just wanted to say that in our classroom, I teach creative media at the school that I work at, so 7, 8, 9, and year 12.
Mhm.
And I do a lot of what Gary does when he takes his teachers outside and changes the venue. We do that with creative media. We take our devices and we hop out outside on the terrace, on the picnic tables, or we go into the MPH hall, which is like an open space for auditorium. And we just go different places every time to try and stimulate that whole creative process. And I ask the students, where do you want to go today? It's not every week, you change it up a bit, but the more choice and the more change and the more you ask them what they want out of their learning and what is their end goal and what would they like to use today, the more buy-in you get from them and the more they're excited to participate.
That's a good point.
True. Yeah. Ralph, what were you going to say?
I wanted to say that depending on the subject, but usually there is in all subjects a way of making it relevant to real life or real life situations. So if you talk about science and viruses, you have a very good topic to include nowadays from the news. If you talk about computing or programming, you can try to make something in real life, work with data from real life. In STEM or STEAM, you have so many options to make little projects which they will use or will be able to really sell as little gimmicks. So if you don't only use fictional data or fictional projects, then students would feel more motivated because they can use it in real life or make at least a reference to you using it in real life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Eric, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've been thinking about what you were saying earlier. I can't remember. You said you knew who put out the thing with the 3 categories of learners, because I've seen that before, but it's been a long time. About the ones who are.
Well, I saw it on Apple. Yeah,
Okay.
train carriages. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I guess part of it is, how do you measure your own success? Because if you measure your own success in encouraging learning by the last group that is the least interested, then you're always going to fail, and there's always going to be someone who's in that car. So I feel like if you can be available, if you can remain available for the moment, because everybody's going to have a moment. And so we're talking about ways to get there, by offering choice, by connecting students with things that they're already interested in. But even if you simply just watch for those moments when they are engaged, when they are open, then you can take advantage of those moments. But if you are discouraged by focusing, if you've rated your success by the people who are the least interested, then you may not have the energy to be there for those moments. And so this is some advice I'm giving to myself right now. but it's like, if you can like I've heard Jim Carrey say in some probably a graduation speech or something about how every breath is a reset. Every moment you can start completely fresh. And so if you don't get stuck in the things that aren't working and the people that aren't into it, then you can be available not just for the people who generally are, but even for the ones who you'd be inclined to give up on or to not focus on, because once in a while even they are open too. And so it's like step 1, remain available, whatever it takes to do that, so that you can be there when the moment arrives, whether it's a moment you engineered or not.
Yeah, I think maybe like with the 3 carriages, it's maybe instead of that constantly being in their carriage trying to encourage and cajole, you're just a bit sneakier about it, so it's that sort of thing where you give them an instruction and then you walk away, right? And then you leave them to it. And so you feel like you're not giving them attention, but the moment they show any interest, you're like, I'm here if you need me, or the people in the middle carriage are encouraging them to come along. So maybe you're just a bit sneakier about it. Yeah. definitely.
I would also say that the problem I find with the carriage model is that that last carriage, there are often many good reasons that teachers have reservations. Teachers are often surprised to see that if I have an important event or something, I will normally print off things because I know the technology can fail me. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for us to understand what are the objections. And if they have good grounded objections, then I think we should be realistic. And some people, things like those interactive whiteboards, they weren't any better than blackboards, really. So, we have to show that there is real benefit.
Definitely. Yeah, whiteboards are a real bugbear for me because I think the amount of time invested in training everybody and keeping them up to date and, building a lesson for, look at this, it appears, and it's taken me an hour to create that one lesson, just does my nutting.
Kids are pretty impressed by just drawing on the whiteboard,
Yeah.
Especially if you're terrible at it. That really gets their attention. Anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, the real benefit is projectors because they can display anything and bring video into the classroom. But I don't think the interactive aspects have been as good as people wanted. It's been a massive oversell.
Yeah.
In some cases.
So, Gary, what are you doing to foster a love of learning with your students? Are you taking them out for meals?
No. Well, basically, it's important that we know why they behave that way because we can understand them better. We cannot really make them love learning if we don't know them. That's one. So we have to know them first, and then second, aside from knowing them, we have to know their emotions. How are they doing? So just saying hi, hello, how are you doing? Sometimes they will just tell you a lot of things when you prompt them some questions. Because sometimes if you don't ask them, just say hi. Okay, hi. They will just say hi also. But when you move further, like how are you doing now? So how are you? So there are times that they will be more comfortable and say things to you. So in that way, they become at ease. So whatever subject I teach them, how difficult it is, they will try to listen because they know that they can talk to me. So it's more than just the academics. And also, so we have to address the behavior, we have to address the emotional, so there can be learning. That's how I do it with my students, but not going out with them.
Yeah. Not feeding them. I would say a friend of mine has just moved to New Zealand, and in the secondary system there, they have, when you have parent-teacher conferences, you don't meet all the teachers, you meet their coach. And it's a new model that they're trialing where each student has a coach, and the coach has about 15 students that they take all the way through high school, the whole time that they're there. They're the same coach. And it's trying to get, like what you're saying, Gary, the pastoral element into secondary and having that one stop. So, you go to parent teachers and you might talk to their 15 teachers and get an overview of what they're doing. But now they're saying you meet with that coach is meeting regularly with your child as well as all the teachers. So they're able to create more of a relationship. And my friend was really impressed by it because she's not had that in secondary. In primary, the pastoral seems to come more easily with a class teacher. But yeah, they're trying to do that to create that relationship so that anything that's picked up along the way is dealt with. And I quite like that model.
Yeah.
Are your schools... Sorry, just a quick question. Are your schools in secondary, it's British, American, Canadian?
No.
The curriculum context?
Mine's British.
Okay, so you have like form tutors then at your school?
That sounds very familiar to me, what Adriana says. Yeah, that's normal. I have
okay.
And a learning conversations play yesterday, so yeah.
I'm at a Canadian school. That system is new to me, and I can only say that I didn't fully comprehended how it works, but it sounds interesting.
My school is American-ish, Yeah, and we don't. That's not familiar to me either.
Yeah, that's in New Zealand. Yeah, I've not heard of it before, but yeah, they're just trying to do more of a pastoral stream, but it means that you don't have direct access to all of the teachers, so it frees up the teachers, who are dealing with 100, 200, 300 kids, and the coach is the one who's providing the link. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a step further, because as a form tutor, this is on top of my regular teaching, that we all have to do this. And it explains why the British teachers are often quite busy, because, we have those 20 kids we have to look after, and we meet them twice a day.
Yeah.
It is a busy job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else? What else have we got to say about fostering the love of learning?
I like who I don't know who said it right now, to get to know. I think it was Gary, to get to know the student. It's in high school it becomes a slippery slope. You shouldn't be too nosy, but obviously you need to apply to the passions and beliefs and be even provocative with some inquiries you do. It's difficult when you are. I feel when you work at an international school where the custom is quite different, particular in some things. You must not offend them. So depending on the country, there are so many real, I would say, culturally pitfalls which you must stay clear of, and that can sometimes, I feel, be in the way of getting to know a person, because often it is exactly these inconvenient topics where you feel somebody and where they stand and how they tick and how they think.
Yeah, it's interesting. The school that I'm at is moving towards quite trying to get into a major group to take it to the next level. But they had a talk with the teachers and the students and the parents, and in the talk with the parents, they were very clear in what they're saying. If I'm saying anything uncomfortable that might go against what you feel your values are, then perhaps this isn't the right school for you. And it was quite shocking when we're like, what are you saying that for? But they were trying to lay it out from the start that these are the values that we want your students to have. They want them to be self-sufficient. They want all these qualities. And the main example they gave was grade 1 students having a school trip overnight. And a lot of the parents were like, no, grade 1's too little. No, they're too young. And the man delivering the workshop said, but that's when it starts. It's, we set everything up so that they're safe, but we feel they can be independent at that age. We want them to be independent. We are preparing them for traveling across the world without support from adults. And also that's where it starts. And if that's not how you feel, then perhaps this isn't the right school for you. And it was like I've been in schools where obviously you have to pander and cater for the sensibilities of the parents, and that's right. But almost the school is trying to change the mindset of parents to come on board with our style, our morals, our values that we want to set up for the school. It was really intriguing to see, where it was like in your face, like, oh, wow, okay,
well, that can be a bit difficult because even though we need to function as a society as a whole somehow, we should still be able to have our individual opinions. I just remind myself often that in one of the IB mission statements, I believe it is, that it is very central that we should be valuing other people's opinion if they're different from us, because we can only learn from them, and we don't have to take on their opinion, nor do we have to change their opinions. Yeah,
I can see the value though in saying, because within that you can still examine and respect a lot of opinions, but if you want to go in a particular direction as a group, And like the mission is so core. The basic ideas that you're saying, what this school is and what this school means. If you set that right out, you're not going to have to worry as much about people who are fighting you can get further as a school, and each cohort of students can get further if you set that mission very clearly and say this is it.
But I mean, we all agree we have to teach how to keep local laws, and even if we personally or maybe our home country does not have that certain law, we still need to try to make them maybe question the law, but still advise them to keep it, to be good citizens.
The thing is, once he said that, it changed the conversation from I don't want my child to go on the trip to what can the school do to support you as a parent to make you comfortable to get your child on the trip. And that was a great turnaround. It was like, well, maybe you could have us come in for an hour evening together and, and then we leave, or the first one is just in the school. It's not down the road, or maybe we have a sleepover with parents in preparation for the next one. And so it really changed in a good way, the conversation. And it kind of came to the point where it's happening. It will happen. But, we need to help you to let them go at the gate.
I have to say, it reminds me of a friend of mine who moved to Copenhagen, and they said all of the children use public transport and normally the parents don't. And they said, well, the way you can transition is for the first week or two, you go on the train with the kids, but it's very normal. And I think that it did take them a while, but they soon let go of the children and let them trusted their parents to have that first step of independence. I mean, unfortunately, safety changes quite dramatically from country to country, doesn't it? I feel I risk my neck in most Southeast Asian countries just crossing the road.
You're safe. You're a tall guy. You're seen.
I almost got run over on Friday. Trust me, it's
If you get touched by a car, you need to jump. Not that the car drives into you, but that you fall on the car.
Well, thanks.
Good advice there. It's a life lesson. Jump on the car.
I think movies taught me. It is a very Thailand is tough in many situations, and I feel that I don't personally. Sometimes I feel I don't personally deal well with touchy topics with students. I usually have the approach that the school should be a safe place to talk about anything, and whatever is shared should stay in the safe school environment, meaning that if your friend tells you that he has a problem understanding that and that topic, you don't go outside to your friends and tell, hey, this guy's is silly because he doesn't get that, or any private information, any work you do in the school must not be shared outside. But inside the school, we should all have a level of understanding that we are able to trust one another and share our work without pointing finger at somebody's ugly painting or something. You know what I mean?
I had a thought about encouraging the love of learning in students that I realized I should have thought of a while earlier. Grades. I feel like the focus, especially there's some countries more than others, like the high pressure for grades become the focus. And by doing whatever we can to take the focus away from grades, then we open up the door to a love of learning. And one really good way to do that is standards-based grading, which in its most pure form doesn't even have grades at all, but which, some different halfway steps focus on, well, the assessment is, can you do this? Do you understand this? It's not graded. It's, have you mastered it? And you don't see a grade until, if you have to, then like until the end of the term. Everybody should know how well they're doing by whether they can have mastered something, by whether they understand something. And so then the question becomes something, instead of, hey, can you give me some more points? How can I do some extra credit? It becomes, I don't understand this. How do I understand it? It brings focus into the actual mastery of the topic.
I do think also the point system where you are earning points rather than getting an A, B, C, D grade, and those points are cumulative. is a definite step towards that. So that each time you do something right, you're getting points, rather than, hey, this is an A or a B or a C, can really help. And again, I'm not sure it applies to all subjects, but in coding, every time you get a decent piece of code in, you get a certain amount of points, and that just helps get students started. That extrinsic motivation until hopefully the intrinsic motivation takes over.
Oh yeah, that's
you're always asking,
yeah.
how can you do it?
Because
I believe sorry.
Well, yeah, it seems to me like a lot of times the grades are the external motivation, extrinsic motivation that takes the focus away from learning, but it may be, a nuance of the setup. One really important element is that you remove from grading considerations anything that isn't about mastery of the subject. So if somebody doesn't turn something in, it means you haven't learned whether they know it. They don't get a 0. You just you say, well, you gotta show me whether you know it. If somebody is disruptive in class, then they don't lose points. They don't get, because that doesn't show anything about mastery of the subject. And even I know this is hard for a lot of people to deal with, but even if somebody cheats, they don't get a 0. You deal with the cheating, the ethical issues in some other way. You deal with that through some other method, but it's still dealt with. You don't leave it undealt with, but you're left with the question, do they understand? Because if all of these other things are mixed into the grade, then the grade doesn't have the meaning that it should have. It doesn't represent mastery. It doesn't represent learning. And when the grade represents mastery and learning to the degree that it does, which is, I think, going to be more true in computer science than some areas, then it has a value that it wouldn't have otherwise.
I mean, I think it is simply, and you're taking it a step further than that, you have to prove you have mastered it.
Yeah.
As opposed to some nominal grade, because on one particular day you managed to perform a task.
Yeah, because if the grade is in perfect sync with learning, then the way to get the grade is to learn. So
we do PYP and IB curriculum, and I've been working with a student, Stray Animal Project, of course, and it was such a wonderful project. How do we get the food waste to the dogs down the road? So enthusiastic. How do we get awareness? How do we fundraise? All these exciting things. And then in the last week, the writing of the report, all of the things, putting them in, just absolutely deflated. And there were so many emails about how she was going to fail it from the coordinator. You need to change this. This isn't written properly. And you just think, how does 3 months of enthusiasm and excitement and mastery, you can see it in what she was doing. And yet the report was the final thing that was the difference between her passing. And at the end, she was like, I can't be bothered. Fail me. Wow. And you think, how did we kill that? It was awful.
It is a problem. I mean, in the fact that most exams, unfortunately, are written exams. And I think that is a real failing of education, that we can't assess in a better method. And, teachers, unfortunately, aren't trusted to assess appropriately, because everybody cares about results. I think this issue's been since, 1950s, certainly 1930s. This issue hasn't gone away, and nobody's prepared to invest the time and the cost it takes to do that kind of scholarship approach.
Yeah, we are. We've turned up for an hour tonight.
Yeah,
given up our time to talk about this very thing. So we're doing it, and so are our 37 listeners. So we're making a change.
Where do you see that? I can't see it at the moment. How many on live watchers we have?
I might have made that number up. It's not important. Don't focus on the numbers. I want to end it on a positive note. So I want everybody just a quick tip to say what they feel they're doing to champion their students and get them loving learning, because we are doing it. I know we're doing it. We're just maybe not conscious of it or aware of it. So just one thing that I want you guys to just say that you are doing that is working or not working. You're still pushing it anyway.
I'll go ahead and say for reading. I read The Book Whisperer. I don't remember the author's name, but The Book Whisperer is a really good book. And I've made a class library over years that I really love. And so I based on my experience with students who so many times, way after there was any motivation for them to be false in any way, they would say, you know something, I never loved a book until I came to your class, and I love this book or I love that book. Then I can tell that I have confidence that I can find something that they love. And so I give them choice and I give them time, and there's no grade associated with it, just choice and time, and they enjoy it.
Very good. Yeah. Gary?
Okay, in my case, I know there are triggers for our students to love learning, and I think the best way to do it, well, for me, I think is using this and being kind to them.
Very good.
Nice.
And you've got the right T-shirt on. Perfect.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Kindness is the sunshine, is that it?
Yep.
Nice.
Nice.
Kindness is the sunshine in which virtue grows.
Good. Very good. Yeah. James, what are you doing?
I think it's all about relationships, really, and it's about creating tasks, and I think all of those things. It's about creating tasks that students enjoy, making it practical, and doing your best to make sure that you're teaching kids things that are real life useful, things that they will find. For me, if you can't make a task enjoyable, at least make it useful.
Definitely.
Nice.
Georgina?
I like that. James stole my idea, so that's it. But
do you want some thinking time?
No, we're good. It is about the relationships, and I guess what I want to add to that is that I always ask them what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. So I'm trying to get them to design their own way forward instead of, okay, there's an objective, but I turn it more into like a problem. This is our problem this week or for the next few lessons. How are we going to tackle this? And they design their own way forward. So when you just give them a bit of choice, a bit of freedom, ask them how they want to do it, let them take ownership of it.
Nice.
Yeah. Ralph, anything from you?
Definitely. I have 2 answers, and that would be love them with their quirks, and Kahoot.
Very good.
These days, that's my favorite these days. Quizzes over Kahoot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that from last week.
Yeah.
But
I'm learning Bahasa, and my tutor uses Kahoot with me. I love it. Very good. Oh, well, thank you very much for turning up, showing up, sharing your wisdom.
Please,
Very
everybody
good.
who's listening, everybody who's on the panel right now, do not forget to share this link to all of your friends, parents, kids, students, and thank you for doing so. Subscribe and like.
Yeah, right on.
Definitely. All right, then we're going to sign off now. So say goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
From ThursdayPD, Thursday.
Bye.